And we are live. Hey, everybody. It's Chris. Hope everyone's doing well. Happy end of Davos week. I'm just back from Davos. Just flew in. I didn't go to Davos. Never been to Davos. Still waiting for my invite to Davos. Hope everyone is well. I just this morning posted my new worst week in Washington video. I do that every Friday. I pick the person, place, or thing who had the worst week in Washington. It is what it sounds like. It is a video I make for members of the Diamond Club, which is my paid subscription tier. If you want to join, go to the membership tab on my YouTube channel. You can do it. And in fact, Noah Khan, not that Noah Khan, I assume. I love your, I love Northern attitude. Is a member of the Diamond Club, a new member. So welcome, Noah. So it's $6.99 a month. You get at least 2 additional videos every week. You get my video podcast with Chuck Todd early in the week, usually Monday or Tuesday. We did it Wednesday this week because of scheduling issues. And you also get this worst week in Washington video every Friday. And you probably usually will get 1, 2, 3 other videos along the way. So let's see. The way that this works is simple. You ask questions, I provide answers, I hope. Anyone can ask a question. If you want to donate to me, you can do it via the super chat option there down at the bottom of your screen. And I will bump your question up to the top, make sure it gets answered. But I always say this, I try to answer a ton of questions. So do me a favor. If you're not already a subscriber to my channel, go hit subscribe. If you already are a member of the channel, a subscriber, hit like on this video and that'll help me. All right, here we go. Human NC. Hey, Chris, what do you think will happen if Trump declares that NATO is over and the U.S. is pulling out without authorization from Congress? I mean, it'll be a fight, obviously. I don't think he'll do that. I think he wants to kill NATO off through benign neglect rather than active action, if that makes sense. Look, he could have ended NATO this week if he wanted to, right? I mean, if he was like, look, we're going to go and we're going to take Greenland because we want it and we can. I don't think we would have had World War III over it, but I do think it would have ended NATO. Without the US, NATO isn't NATO. It's just a fact. I'm not trying to be like, muscularly pro-US or anything. It's just a fact, financially and militarily and otherwise. So I don't know that he wants to end it. Like through an action he takes. But if it ended, I don't think he'd be upset. I hope that makes sense. Sherry Zimmerman, second verse, same as the first. CC this Sunday, Seahawks versus Rams. Give me the Rams. I don't trust Sam Darnold in a big game. Emil Sazanda, hey CMC, what odds do you give Senator Graham's 500% tariff bill on buyers of Russian hydrocarbons to A, pass the Senate, 2, pass the House, 3, actually be enforced by Besant's Treasury? I don't think that's going to happen. Remember, pass the Senate, maybe. Pass the House, less likely. Be enforced, not going to happen. Because look, Donald Trump wants to end the war between Ukraine and Russia for plenty of reasons, but one of the big ones is he thinks he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize, obviously, and he wants to win it in 2026. He thinks if it plays a critical role in ending the Ukraine-Russia war, he will win it. And he views the way that war ends, I think, as basically Russia and the US come to some kind of agreement and you go to Ukraine and say, you kind of have to take this. So he's not going, I don't think, to do things that will actively endanger his ability to negotiate with Putin between now and the end of the year. So that would be my guess. Mark, thoughts on precedent setting if the Clintons go to jail? I know it's expecting too much foresight from Trump, but if former presidents can serve jail time, shouldn't he be worried once he's out? Yeah. So this Mark is asking about the contempt of Congress thing that is carrying through. If you haven't been following it, last week, Bill and Hillary Clinton told the House Oversight Committee they would not testify about their knowledge and experience and, friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. They did that knowing that the Oversight Committee would likely vote to hold them in contempt of Congress. This week, the House Oversight Committee held them in contempt of Congress. Here's what's interesting about it. They did separate votes. So they did Bill Clinton in one vote and Hillary Clinton in another vote. In the holding Bill Clinton in contempt of Congress, 9 Democrats joined with all 25 Republicans on the committee, and 2 other Democrats voted present. So 11 Democrats did not vote against holding Bill Clinton in contempt. Interesting. The Hillary Clinton contempt vote, only 3 Democrats voted to hold her in contempt. But if it passes the House, which it will if it gets voted on, it would then go to the Department of Justice, where Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, would have the ability to levy a fine up to $100,000 and jail time up to a year. I don't think the Clintons are going to spend any time in jail. I think they will settle this and find a way to testify in some way, shape, or form before the House votes on contempt, maybe after the House votes on contempt, but I just don't see it. I don't know. I don't see it. Rich reviews. Thank you, Rich. Rich says, do you think Nigel Farage will become prime minister? I mean, it's kind of a wild time over there, man. Like, Keir Starmer is not exactly popular, right? Rishi Sunak, we've been through a lot. People say our American politics are wild. British, UK politics are just as crazy. I could see it. I guess I don't know enough about the current situation other than to know that Keir Starmer is not particularly popular. But Rich, thank you for donating. And I should say this: if you become a member of the Diamond Club, as Noah Khan did today, if you want to donate, as Rich did through the Super Chat, if you want to go to my Substack and become a paying subscriber over there, if you want to go to buymeacoffee.com and donate to me there, all of those donations support independent journalism. Me. Doesn't go to any, your $1 or $10 or $100 doesn't get farmed out to a bunch of it. All it does is help me continue to do this sort of work, analyzing, reporting, contextualizing, providing you some history on what's happening in politics on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. So thank you for the donation. I just want people to know that's where your money is going. Let's see. Mark Scott, how can we still be a nation of laws if ICE agents are able to violate Fourth Amendment without any consequences, as is happening in Minnesota and elsewhere in the country? Yeah. So, Mark, what's interesting is I got a question in my mailbag, which I do every couple of weeks in my Substack. Is ICE breaking the law in Minnesota? And my answer was, I'm not aware that they're breaking the law. It's simply saying, like, I haven't seen ICE agents arrested. And people jumped on me because it was like, of course they're breaking the law. Look, it is dangerous, of course, when you are changing the law to fit what your agents are doing. I have not followed every single ICE enforcement action in Minneapolis or in the state more generally. I have absolutely seen footage on social media, which of course, it's edited, all the caveats, but looks as though, and read reports that make me think that they are overstepping what they should be doing in that state. And I maybe nationally, I don't know, I don't want to speak, but man, it is, the ramping up of it, JD Vance being in Minnesota on Thursday to give a speech supporting ICE. I mean, I don't mind supporting ICE, but it's like, you got to kind of understand the context and the circumstances. That is not going to make things better. At best, it's going to keep things neutral. At worst, it's going to make things more heated. Ramping this up is not leadership, in my opinion. Brett Green, hey, Chris, boy, I would not want to be Jasmine Crockett's PR team after this week. I cannot fathom what she was thinking. So for people who don't know what Brett's talking about, I made a video about it yesterday. Jasmine Crockett, in an interview with the Washington Post, basically said, hey, look, if you think we're going to lose this race in Texas anyway, why don't you lose with me in a new and interesting way, as opposed to losing with like somebody we've already run before? Not great. The goal is to win the race, right? Not to lose the race with someone different. I tend to not think Jasmine Crockett would be a strong general election nominee. Absolutely could be proven wrong, have been in the past. But I think Democrats would be far better off with James Tallarico as their nominee. Paul Olson, Paul, thank you for your donation and thank you for supporting independent journalism. Paul says, some friends and I recently decided that Stephen Miller is the shadow president and the man behind the curtain. What do you think? What does the Washington crowd think? He is absolutely hugely influential. If I had to pick a staffer who had the most influence over Trump, I think a lot of people would say Susie Wiles as chief of staff, and there's an argument to be made there, but I would say Stephen Miller. When it comes to the immigration stuff, particularly what you're seeing in Minnesota, that's Stephen Miller. His title is like senior domestic policy advisor or something, but his role is ideas guy for Donald Trump. And Stephen Miller is extremely extreme when it comes to his ideas. Yeah. Dan W., who is a member of the Diamond Club, he says, Diamond Dogs Unite. Need a new book to read. I thought you mentioned Wolves of K Street before. Have you read it? Would you recommend? Yes. Wolves of K Street, which is written by my friends Brody and Luke Mullins, their brothers, is a tremendous book about the influence industry in Washington. I'm trying to think what else I've read recently that I really liked. I did just finish the John Aloysius Farrell Nixon biography. Really like that one. Like literally just finished it. I'm reading Ian Kershaw's Hitler biography, which is incredibly long. It's almost like too much information. But yes, I really liked Wolves of K Street. I loved it. And I'll give you, just, you didn't ask for it, but I'll give you a show recommendation. Seven Dials on Netflix, 3-part miniseries based on Agatha Christie book or novelette. Love it. Great stuff. Really good. Sam GLG. Hey, Chris, thoughts on the Mackenzie Gore trade? Is this the breaking point for Chuck? Will the Nats losing continue until morale improves? So, Sam, I will tell you that I learned about the trade of Mackenzie Gore to the Texas Rangers from Chuck because he texted me. Look, we got 5 of the top 20 prospects in the Rangers system. I think Mackenzie Gore, I hate trading a hard-throwing young lefty, period. I have more faith in Paul Taboni. You know, I think he's the general manager or president of baseball operations. We'll see. There's only so long we can be in rebuild. We got to start actually like moving forward. It's like the Wizards, the NBA team in Washington. We've been in a rebuild for a while. Okay, now let's start moving forward. KS. Chris, listen to Mark Carney's speech in Davos. Any thoughts? Yeah, I did listen to it. Obviously, it's gotten a ton of attention. I think that you are going to see, and I think this will outlast Trump, the world order and the U.S.'s place in it is fundamentally being changed, right? This is, we lived in a world from post-World War II till, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, where the United Nations and NATO, these were the governing bodies, Western Europe and the US were united together. That's not really the case anymore. Donald Trump clearly believes in a foreign policy that's kind of might makes right. And we're going to take what we want. These transatlantic organizations don't do us any favors. He said in an interview with Maria Bartiromo on Thursday in Davos that basically that the NATO allies who fought with the US in Afghanistan didn't stay on the front lines, basically that they backed off so that they wouldn't be injured or killed. No proof of that, but my gosh, I mean, that's certainly not going to help things. So yes, I think Mark Carney is part of kind of the realist wing of the geopolitical world, basically saying like, look, things are changed. We're not going to just go back to the way things were before when Trump leaves. Like the way that the U.S. has acted over these last, decade or so of Trump, is going to have an impact. It's not going to just go back to normal, and we need to deal with that. So it's a worthwhile speech to watch or listen to or read if you haven't. Trevin, hello, Chris. Have you seen enough to convince you to get off the sidelines and actually vote in the upcoming midterms, or do you intend on remaining a non-voter? Yeah, I mean, I haven't really decided yet. I struggle with voting. I will admit that. I know it is a civic, a privilege, and that I absolutely have the right to vote. At the same time, I've looked at things through a journalist lens for so long that it's hard for me to put on the kind of like, okay, I now think this is better than that kind of thing. It's hard to explain. I know a lot of people don't get it and they're not fans of it, but yeah, I don't know. Matt Davidson, realtor, who is a member of the Diamond Club, he said, also, since there are all kinds of barks, you should do your Diamond Dogs bark in the gayest Pomeranian or an entire episode just saying. So you're saying I should bark through a whole episode. I feel like that would not succeed. But thank you for being a member of the Diamond Club. Nutsack Jones, another thriller of BS from a useless hack. I assume that's about me. Why are you here then? If I'm a useless hack, why are you wasting your time commenting? What does that say about you? Catherine Beach, hope you have all your bread and milk, Chris. Yes, so there is a winter storm coming. I think it's supposed to get to DC like Saturday night. My wife and my younger son went to the grocery store yesterday and they said they've never seen it more crowded and that there was no salad left. People are insane. So yes, we're ready to be bunkered in. Michael Gates, hey Chris, do you think Klobuchar is going to be the next governor of Minnesota? Yes, almost certainly. She filed paperwork yesterday to form an exploratory committee, which allows her to raise money and those sorts of basic things. But yeah, I think she's going to run. Look, here's the dirty little secret. That's not even really a dirty little secret. It's not fun to be in Washington as a politician these days, Republican or Democrat. Michael Bennet is running for governor of Colorado. Tommy Tuberville is running for governor of Alabama. 2 senators. Klobuchar, I think, will run. Like it's more fun to be a governor. You can do more stuff. It's less partisan. Albert Lemos. Albert, thank you for supporting independent journalism. Very much appreciated. He says, thoughts on Gavin Newsom in Switzerland? I thought he was fine. I mean, look, he has risen to the top of the Democratic field. And stay tuned, by the way, next week I'm going to have my new 2028 Democratic presidential rankings out. But he has risen to the top of the Democrat. Spoiler alert, Gavin Newsom will be number 1. He's risen to the top of the Democratic field by being the guy willing to take Trump on Trump's own terms. So he's going to continue to do that, right? You don't all of a sudden just abandon a strategy that's working. Do I think Newsom is a lock to be the nominee? No. Do I think he did what he's been doing in Switzerland pretty effectively? Yeah, I do. Thank you for your donation. Bill Reeve, thank you for supporting independent journalism. Bill says, why is Elon back strongly with Trump? He just announced a massive SpaceX and Tesla investment in solar. Trump is killing renewables. Elon likes to be close to power. And while Trump on renewables or Trump on electric cars isn't perfect, Trump can keep a whole hell of a lot. Trump can create a whole lot of financial and other problems for Elon Musk's many different companies and interests. And I think Elon understands where his bread is buttered. And there's absolutely no reason to have a contentious relationship. When you're that wealthy and spread across that many sectors, there's no reason to have a tempestuous relationship with a vengeful president, right? Let's see. Douglas Trapasso, question. Have you ever attended this thing in Davos? What do participants actually do? No, I have not. I don't know. Go to receptions, congratulate each other on their success. I don't really like those things. I'm not a big fan of the kind of like get together and pat each other in the back and compliment each other about how successful we've all been. Thomas Davenport, a member of the Diamond Club, says, hello, everyone. Hope you had a great week. I did. Thank you, Thomas. John C., what will happen when and if Dems win the House? What if they win House and Senate? Will Trump listen to them or ignore them? What happens if he ignores? I actually think if Democrats win the House, Trump has some sort of populist instincts that Democrats will like. Like I could see Trump and Democrats in the House actually doing some things together on policy. I know that's sort of weird, but I could see it. I mean, the other thing that will happen is they will actively investigate Trump using their oversight. If he ignores them, I mean, I don't think they're going to do a whole hell of a lot. If the Senate is Republican controlled, the House is Democratic controlled, and Trump is in the White House, like I don't think it's going to fundamentally change a whole heck of a lot. So, I don't think a huge amount's going to get done. But the one thing I will say is don't underestimate, if let's say the Senate and the House go to Democrats, don't underestimate Trump's ability to cut deals with that or desire to cut deals with Democrats, honestly. Thomas Davenport, who, as I said, is a member of the Diamond Club. Chris, do you think Jasmine Crockett will drop out if her polling sags? No. And the reason I say that, Thomas, is because the primary is in like a month, right? It's March 3rd and we're at the end of January. Why would she drop out? Like, why not just, it's not like she's got to keep running until August. The primary is March 3rd. I think she will stay in no matter what. I think she is an underdog in the primary, although if she won, I wouldn't fall over. Primaries are hard to predict, but I do think she's an underdog. Eric Mays, Jesse the Body Ventura has been really outspoken on all things happening in Minnesota and especially critical of Trump and the GOP. Any chance he re-enters the politics of the state? I mean, he may want to re-enter the politics of the state, but no. I mean, his one term was broadly seen, his one term as governor was broadly seen by both parties as a disaster. So no, I don't. If he did, I don't think he'd make much of a wave. Jay Jordan, do you think at any point JD Vance or Marco Rubio will back off the slavish defense of some of the administration's actions looking towards a presidential run? Probably not. Both of them, especially Vance, are heavily invested in being the heir to Donald Trump. And so it's like you take the good, you take the bad, you take no, and there you have the facts of life. No, but you got to take the good with the bad, right? Like, Vance's bet is if I win the MAGA base, if I'm seen as the Trump's guy, I'll be the nominee. And so what's his path if you're kind of seen as Trump's guy? So no, I don't. Could there be other people in the race who do try to form either, I don't know if it's a break from Trump, but like a Trump 2.0, kind of like Donald Trump, Trumpism without Donald Trump? Yeah, I could see that, but I don't think it's going to be Vance or Rubio who do that. Let's see. Yeah, Paul Olson, who lives in Minnesota, says, I live in Minnesota and I actually voted for Jesse when I was in my curse on both houses phase. I doubt he has much, if any, credibility here anymore. I agree. Richard Fillmore, how do you think a theoretical matchup between Vance and AOC in 28 would go? Be a very interesting race. Vance would start out as the favorite. I could see AOC winning, but Vance would start out as the favorite. He would cast her as, a wacko leftist socialist communist. She would say he is a fascist along the lines of Trump. It would be very, very, very ugly. Thomas Davenport, Diamond Club. How can voters trust future Democratic candidates running as moderates? I don't know. I mean, I do think one of the questions that a lot of Democrats elected officials are going to have to answer, particularly like Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg in 28, is why didn't you speak out more on Biden? Did you not see it? If you didn't see it, how did you not see it? I do think that will be an issue. TDAV707. Hey, Chris, I love your show. Catch it every Friday. Thank you. So my question is, what is the over-under on Trump either being forced out of office through either public pressure or congressional procedure? It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. I mean, I shouldn't say never going to happen, but I think it's extremely unlikely. I struggle to think of a circumstance where that would happen. Richard, what are your thoughts about Trump's comments on British troops in Afghanistan? Has he lost the plot? Well, I mean, yeah. So I mentioned this earlier, but I'll mention it again. Trump, in an interview with Maria Bartiromo on Thursday before he left Switzerland to come back to DC, said that NATO allies fighting in Afghanistan took a step back from the front lines. I mean, obviously it's going over extremely poorly among our NATO allies who committed troops and lost troops in that fight. I don't know that he's lost the plot. I think he believes that, I mean, he's lost the plot no more than many of the other crazy things he says. Joaquin Varela. Hey, Chris, can you explain why you think JD Vance is more charismatic to normal people than Dems think? I watch him speak, but I never see anything uniquely charismatic. He seems whiny, if anything. I think that here's what I'd say. Go watch some of the VP debate between JD Vance and Tim Walz. He's good. I don't know about charismatic. He's a good communicator. And Democrats, I think, are blinded at some level by their hate for him in the same way they're blinded by their hate for Donald Trump. Zamir Andranigian. Hi, happy Friday. Can we get your Super Bowl pick? Patriots, Rams. Douglas Trapasso says, bring back that 2-week woman for prime minister. Yeah, that was the one where they did the head of lettuce, which lasts longer, right? That show, they like had a head of lettuce and they were like, which goes bad? Does Liz Truss go? It's Liz Truss you're talking about. Does she go before the head of lettuce goes? And I think the head of lettuce outlasted her. I think that's right. That was a good one. Let's see. Felonious. Legally speaking, Trump can't pull out of NATO per se. Congress passed that law and Trump won. Right. I get it. But again, like Congress has mostly done what Trump wants them to do. And I don't think that, to be clear, I don't think that he's going to pull out of NATO. But also, like, Congress hasn't really been an impediment in most things to Donald Trump. I will note let me reset. We have over 300 people on this chat. We're about 25 minutes in. I'm going to go another 15, 20 minutes probably. If you have not liked this chat, this stream, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Other things that you can do. You can subscribe to my channel. It's free. Hit subscribe, helps me. You can become a member of the Diamond Club on this channel, which is my paid tier. It's $6.99 a month. You get at least 2 videos that other folks do not get every single week. One is my conversation with Chuck Todd every Monday or Tuesday. One is today, Fridays. You get my worst week in Washington. You should get a few others videos and usually interviews with newsmakers and that kind of thing as well. You can go over to my Substack where most of my written content is. If you want to check that out, there's some free. If you want all of it, you got to pay. You can make a donation via Super Chat. In this chat, you can go to buymeacoffee.com. Lots of ways to support me. And remember, you're supporting independent journalism. All right. So thank you for the thumbs up. We're over 100. Let's keep going. Neo-cloudism. Chris, why do you think Crockett is the more liberal candidate in Texas? Her voting record is consistently more conservative than the middle of her caucus. Seems like she just uses belligerent rhetoric. She is on the, I have not seen data that says her voting record is in the more conservative half of the Democratic caucus. Maybe you're talking about in Texas particularly, but certainly not in the broader caucus. I don't know that she's more liberal than James Tallarico, the other Democrat in the race. Tonally, she is. And I think for a lot of people, that's what stands out. Like, people don't really make decisions on, is this person liberal or conservative based on policy a lot of times now. They make it based on vibes. They make it based on like rhetoric and tone. And she's clearly very, 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 very anti-Trump. And that's how she's made her name. Sosteen. Where do the parties stand on the redistricting efforts? Which party is currently winning this battle? Interestingly enough, so remember that when Texas redistricted, the storyline was Republicans are going to net all these seats and it's going to help them keep the House. At this point, if Virginia, which is now Democratic controlled, if Virginia redistricts, I think you're going to see a wash nationwide, or even maybe Democrats with a seat or two gain, which is fascinating. So talk about early predictions not being a guide. M. Paris, who is a member of the Diamond Club, do you think Westmore's current budget issues and drop in approval rating will hurt his national appeal? Probably not, because here's what happened this week, if you haven't been focusing on it. Former Republican Maryland Governor Larry Hogan, who got elected to 2 terms as governor, announced he was not going to be running against Westmore, which means Westmore is going to win a second term. And then he will probably pivot from that to run for president. Yes, of course, his stewardship of Maryland will matter at some level, but I think more important will be, hey, I got reelected with fill in the blank percent. Dragonfire. Brexit was 2016. Trump came down the escalator 2015. What cursed monkey paw did we twist? Tom RH. Trump's comment about NATO troops not fighting in the front line is blowing up in the UK, rightly condemned as heinous and disgusting. Is he getting any heat for it in the US? Yes, Tom, it's starting to be a bigger thing here. I don't think it will ever be as big a thing as it is in the UK because he's casting aspersions on the UK, not on the US. But yes, it's starting to be a bigger deal. Alexander Hall. Chris, could you make a video or Substack article looking at scandals of both parties in the pre and post-Trump eras and provide insight into how this has changed over time and why? Yeah, I can do that. That's a good idea. Gottman. Aren't Tim Walz and Jacob Fry also ramping up the rhetoric? I would say Tim Walz and Jacob Fry in the immediate aftermath of the shooting of Renee Good acted poorly with their rhetoric and did ramp things up in the same way that Kristi Noem did, in the same way Donald Trump did, in the same way that JD Vance did. I have not seen as much of that ramping up, escalating rhetoric from Fry and Walz in the past week or so, but I'm open to the fact I've missed it, but I just haven't seen it. Peter Friedenspeef. Nope. Peter Friedenspeef. That could be wrong. Hi, Chris. What do you think of Trump's Board of Peace? Is it just a publicity stunt, or will it play any significant role? Just a publicity stunt. Look at the countries that have signed it. It's like the UAE. You know what I mean? It's not the major European powers. It's him trying to recreate the UN, but like that he's in control of. But no, I don't think it's going to be a big thing. Max Wolfson. Max, what's up? How does the imminent entry of Klobuchar in the governor's race affect other races in Minnesota? Despite the entry of Tafoya, will Klobuchar overperform enough to ensure a Democrat Senate victory? Yeah. So here's what I think, Max. I think Klobuchar probably gets elected governor if she runs. I think that either Angie Craig or Peggy Flanagan, the Democratic potential nominees, probably win in this year, a good year for Democrats nationally, probably win that open seat Senate race. Michelle Tafoya, the former sideline reporter for NBC, who's now running as a Republican, I think she might have an eye on, okay, maybe I get lucky and I win a Senate seat this time, but if Klobuchar runs for governor, she appoints her successor, but then there's a special election and then Tafoya runs in that, and maybe she has a better chance there. I think it's like a two cycle gambit that she's on. It's Mike Watt says, keep up the great work. Thank you, my friend. I promise I will. Neo-cloudism. Gore has 2 years remaining on his contract. They were blowing his prime. Too bad they're going to have a good defensive catcher this year for the first time since acquiring him. Yeah. One thing about that, man, is I think we've given up on the Keibert Ruiz experiment. LV says, I swear you voted in this last election. I did not vote in this last election. Michael Wade, member of the Diamond Club. I'm pretty left and don't agree with you all the time, but you're absolutely one of my most trusted sources of info. Thank you. That is great. I always say if you're agreeing with someone on the internet all the time, they're probably telling you what you want to hear so that you give them money. So thank you, Michael. That's exactly what I want to hear. Thanks for being a member of the Diamond Club. Greg Anderson, hey Chris, Trump being known as Taco Trump, is that set in stone? So yeah, Trump always chickens out Taco. It's set in stone on the left. I don't think the average independent, low information voter pays any attention to this stuff and has any idea what the hell that means. And on the right, no. Dave the Man, Newsom, AOC, Westmore, Abigail Spanberger for 28 nominee. In order, probably right now, I'd say Newsom, AOC, Westmore, and then Spanberger. I think Spanberger's more of a VP than a presidential. M. Paris, Diamond Club member. Do you think Westmore's current wait, I answered that one. Current budget issues. No, I don't think it'll hurt him. Joe Mama, thank you for your donation. Joe Mama says, are Republicans losing Christians over the ICE splitting families? I don't know. I don't totally know how that plays out, to be honest. Like, I don't know how much people are paying attention to it. I don't know how, I don't know how long it will linger in the public imagination. I know it's a huge deal right now. I don't know if it'll always be a big deal. So Matt Davidson, Realtor. Matt, thank you as always, a member of the Diamond Club and making a donation via Super Chat. Thank you for supporting me. Chris, no one is persuading anyone. Lies stay lies to Dems. Jack Smith stays suspect to the GOP, and the midterms are about the economy, not Jack Smith. So what was yesterday's end game? What am I missing? Just to call Jack Smith, Republicans wanted to bring Jack Smith to the Hill so that they could be like, why are you targeting Donald Trump? And Democrats agreed to it because they were like, well, that way we can defend Jack Smith. And Jack Smith wants to go out there and just make sure that his voice is heard. But no, I totally agree with you. I do not see that moving the needle in any way, shape, or form. Joe Rule. Love you, Chris. Thank you. I would love your professional view. How are Democrats as a whole still 50-50 against the Republican Party as a whole when realistically it should be 90-10? Because we are a very divided country and we have very much lined up behind our two polls. And it's just, people don't even really engage with each other or the issues. It's like, okay, well, I'm a Republican, so Republicans think this. I'm a Democrat, so Democrats think this. If I don't actually think it should be 90-10. I think we're a pretty divided country. I mean, I think 60+% of people are not big fans of Donald Trump, but I think if you say like, would you rather have a conservative governance or more liberal governance, you'd split it about 50-50, to be totally honest. Let's see. Just going through. David Johnson says, no barking during a whole live stream, please. Yeah, David, don't worry. I was not going to do that. Even I know that's a bad idea. He says, you are the complete opposite of a hack. Thank you. Lou 8181, Mark Carney seems to have hinted at a union-like alliance with the middle powers of the world. Thoughts on the speech as a whole and the future impact for the top 2 to 3 world powers? He did. I mean, he did talk about those middle powers. Let's see if he acts on it. I will note that Canada has been a little bit more open to China since the U.S. Since Trump has imposed so many tariffs on Canada. That's obviously not the middle powers. That's another superpower. So let's see. Watch what they do, not what they say. Menandros. Hi, Chris. Hear this idea again this week. Trump's antics always lead to Europe doing what the Pentagon wants, defending itself, Greenland, and the Atlantic. Thoughts. Greetings from Belgium. Yeah. First of all, hello, Belgium. Second of all, yeah, I mean, to me, Trump is getting what he wants. It's just, does he have to do it the way he's doing it? Let's just take Greenland. It seems to me that if Trump had gone to Greenland and Denmark in diplomatic terms, not publicly, but privately, and said, look, we're concerned about Russia and China as it relates to Greenland. We want to expand our presence there. Can we do that? They'd be like, yeah, no problem. So it doesn't seem to me like instead he went public and was like, we're going to take it over and they better sell it to us or we're going to leave all options on the table. It's not that he's not getting what he wants. It's how he's getting what he wants. And is there a long-term consequence to that? That's to me the question. Ben Woolman, how many viewers understood the facts of life reference? Well played. Yeah, I know. I'm old. Fabrizio Manganiello, will this expected snowstorm be politicized? Half jokingly asked because it seems that everything is these days. Well, I will tell you, Fabrizio, like lots of times politicians get screwed because they mishandle natural disasters. Remember Ted Cruz? He wound up winning ultimately, but Ted Cruz being on a flight to the Caribbean when there was that freeze in Texas. There's a record in DC and New York City of mayors screwing themselves or distinguishing themselves with how they react to snow cleanup. So yeah, everything is political. Michael MP, is Pete Buttigieg angling for a VP spot in 28? Oh, I think he's angling for a president spot. I mean, would he take the VP if offered? Probably. Yeah, I think almost no one would turn that down, but I think he wants to be president. Richard Godshaw, why did the Buffalo Bills fire their coach, and what would you have done? Not fired my coach. I think it's crazy. Sean McDermott is a really good coach. I think that was insane. Matt Davidson says, thank you, Matt, for your continued and ongoing support of independent journalism and me. Chris, last question, I promise. Davos media says Trump weaker than he looks and backing off Greenland proved it, but the damage is done. Isn't that damage undone in 29 with a non-Trumper president? I don't think so, Matt, because I don't think you just reinstall trust like that, right? Because the truth is, let's say that it's even like if it's JD Vance, no, definitely the trust is not back. But let's say it's a Democrat. Like, I'm not sure that the European powers are going to just be like, oh, okay, America's back to normal now. Because again, this is a country that elected Donald Trump twice. I don't think the rubber band snaps right back. It doesn't mean it won't ever snap back, but I don't think it snaps right back. Joe Mama says only a half hour. No, I'm going longer than that. I was just saying we were about at the halfway mark. I think I'm going to go like 40, 45 minutes. I got to get to an 8th grade basketball game. You don't want to miss that. My son's playing. Let's see. I'm trying to get people who have not asked questions. Scott Morrison. Hey, Chris, do you think objective morality exists, or is it fundamentally tied to religion, and what consequences does that have for politics? I don't know if objective morality, I'm just going by what those two words mean. I don't know if it's like a technical term. Yes, I think objective morality exists. I think murder is wrong. You know what I mean? Like, I think there are certain things that are wrong that come innately. You know that you've done wrong, apart from whether you believe in a higher power or anything. I hope that answers your question. Aldo Marino, does this five-year-old break through on the immigration front, like seeing the cages in the first Trump administration? Would it even matter to Trump, or is this the norm for the next 3 years? So that is the 5-year-old who was arrested along with his father, or detained along with his father in Minnesota on Thursday, I believe. Yeah, I mean, I think it does break through. I've seen it on social media. I've seen it being covered. Does it fundamentally change the dynamic? Probably not, but I would say it's certainly not a good look for what Donald Trump is trying to do. LV says, same citing this, I'm out. I don't totally know what that's a thing for, but I guess you're out. Kornheiser 10, Westmore will really push the slogan, make me president and I'll bring a sphere to every state. I like that. There's a sphere, the one in Vegas, a smaller sphere apparently coming to Maryland. Tabby D, hey, Chris, it does seem as though Newsom will be the nominee in 28. How do you think a Newsom-Vance matchup might come out? I think Vance will be damaged going into 28. We'll see. I would not say it seems like Newsom will be the nominee. I think there's going to be a very robust Democratic primary. We'll see how it turns out, but I would not say that. Newsom-Vance, it's just too hard for me. Like, how does the last 3 years of Trump play out? How does JD Vance, is JD Vance like still totally aligned with Donald Trump? Is he not? Like, I don't know. There's too many variables to be like, what does this race look like? Brendan Fleming. Brendan, thank you as always for supporting independent journalism. Brendan says, happy Friday, Chris. Newsom looks like he's a shoo-in for the Democratic nomination, but not a guarantee. What's your favorite example of a dark horse candidate surprising everyone and winning the nomination for president? Donald Trump? Jimmy Carter? Bill Clinton? Happens a lot, actually. It depends on how you define dark horse. It's very rare that a candidate who's like no one has ever heard of winds up winning, but like Carter is probably the biggest dark horse. And that was a function of like where the Democratic Party was post Watergate. You know what I mean? Like there are a lot of factors, but yeah, Trump is certainly the biggest example. Adam Del Judas, Chris, you've mentioned in 2 live streams that Mark Kelly has skeletons in his closet. Why not say what they are? Do you feel that it is not your place to break a story, or is it unconfirmed? Unconfirmed. I just hear, there's stuff with him. It's unconfirmed. I that's why I don't, go anything beyond that, because yes, I hear it, but I hear that about lots of people. So like, and some of those things wind up being true and some don't. And we'll find out if Mark Kelly runs for president and he has skeletons in his closet. I guarantee you we'll know. Marquarius, thank you for supporting independent journalism. Marquarius says, why do these organizations not countersue Trump in all these lawsuits? If they're frivolous, fight it. How are you feeling on Alaska Senate? And again, no on Newsom. Rubio has intrigued me. Well, they can countersue. The issue is, a lot of these people that he sues don't have as much money as he does, and don't have the backing of the federal government. So it's like, even if it's a frivolous lawsuit, you might want to settle it because it could bankrupt you. Alaska Senate, I think it's a toss-up. And Newsom, again, I'm not sold. If you're betting today, he's the favorite. Doesn't mean he will win. Kornheiser 10, were you on TK shows when Tafoya would appear as a guest? What did you think of her? I know Michelle Tafoya and Tony are friends from the sports world. I was never on a show with her. Undergraduate CFP, hypothetically, could Tim Walz appoint himself for Amy Klobuchar's seat on his last day of office, or do you see Klobuchar appointing Walz? I think the appointment would have to, the seat would not be open until she resigned. She would not resign, or vacant until she resigned. She would not resign until she was sworn in as governor, which would make her the person who would be able to appoint her replacement. David Judaica. David, thank you so much for your kind donation. I have not seen you on this chat before. Thank you for being on the chat, and thank you for supporting independent journalism. Hi, Chris. How can Georgetown basketball get relevant again? Changing coaches doesn't seem to work. Are there underlying administration issues at play? The sport is better when they're in the discussion. Look, Georgetown is now 1-7 in the Big East, 9-10 overall. They lost by double digits to Villanova this week. They play Providence at Providence, the two worst teams in the Big East, the team Ed Cooley left and the team Ed Cooley coaches now. Look, we pay Ed Cooley $6.5 million. 1-7 in the Big East isn't good enough. That said, I don't see the point in changing coaches after this year. I think Cooley is a good recruiter. I think he gets the system. I think if anyone can succeed at Georgetown, it's probably him. But I think if it's another year or two and we still stink, we may well have to conclude that we're like a slightly below mid-major program, which bums me out because I went to Georgetown. I've saddled my two children with rooting for Georgetown basketball. I need them to be good or at least competitive. Jameson Collier, excuse me. Democratic chances at the Senate now. Will Trump campaigning this fall hurt Republicans? Don't know if it will hurt Republicans. My guess is they'll put him in places where they can motivate the base and hope that it doesn't hurt him in the kind of broader electorate. Democrat chances of taking the Senate, but 40-ish%, 35 to 40%, higher than it was before Mary Peltola got into the race. Kilroy, between YouTube membership, Substack, and Buy Me a Coffee, which one takes the smallest house cut? I think Buy Me a Coffee takes the smallest cut. I think the other two take 10%. I'm not totally sure. Joe Mama points out that Jack Smith was a Republican who voted for Trump. I don't know if he voted for Trump, but I do believe he was a Republican. Rich Roma, who do you think is going to be the dark horse for the Dem nomination in 2028? I don't know if Wes Moore counts as a dark horse, but I do think it's worth it's worth thinking about him. Cool Sean, who is a member of the Diamond Club. Thoughts on JP Morgan CEO talk and Trump launching a legal attack on them. Trump is suing JP Morgan for allegedly debanking him, like no longer doing banking business with him. My guess is that is solely designed as a way to extract some money out of them in a settlement because they don't want to be actively engaged in litigation with the president. Let's see. BMP, thank you for supporting independent journalism. Are you familiar with the Bad Electoral Takes X account with your profile? No. Send me an email, cillizzac@gmail.com. I'll get it taken down. Or try to get it taken down. Ashish Drew. Hey, Chris, I just joined, so not sure who's a member of the Diamond Club. Hey, Chris, I just joined, so not sure if you answered this question, but what is the actual point of tearing up the post-World War II order? Is there any logic or sense? Trump doesn't think it serves the U.S. He thinks that we've been taken advantage of, that we support these things militarily and financially, and we don't get enough out of them, and that if we were attacked, NATO wouldn't come to our rescue. So that's his view. Again, everything is so transactional. What are we getting? Cucini fallen from the sky. What does Gavin Newsom do after he's governor? That ends this year. Yes, he's term limited out at the end of this year. He'll just immediately transition to running for president. Let's see. Dragonfire says, no, Trump will find a way to be nominated a third time. I guarantee it. I just don't think he can. Douglas Trapasso says, Al Gore, he's rested, he's ready. I don't think that's going to happen. Let's see. Garen says, UK viewer here, the Georgetown coach gets how much? Yes, the Georgetown basketball coach makes $6.5 million a year. You heard that right. We are 1-7 in our conference right now. Yeah. Let's see. Doomed optimism. That's a good handle. Hey, Chris, I hear a lot of over-the-top comparisons of Trump to World War II era leaders, but to me, I feel like if anything, I see more parallels to him and Julius Caesar. What are your thoughts on this? Interesting. I've never thought about it, but I will think about it. That's really good. Thank you. I hadn't thought about that. Okay, I think I've gone through all the questions, or as many as I can. I got to run. Got that eighth grade basketball game I got to get to. As I said, thank you for being a part of our community. If you're not already a subscriber, hit subscribe. If you are already a subscriber, thumbs up this video. If you want to join the Diamond Club, check it out. Go to the membership tab on YouTube. You will get great stuff, including every week, every Friday, including today, my pick for the worst week in Washington. I hope you check it all out. I hope you have a good weekend. If you're in the snow line, stay safe. Watch a bunch of YouTube videos to kill time. You can go to my channel. There's lots and lots of videos there. And for everyone who became a new member of the Diamond Club, which is a fair number of people in the last couple weeks, thank you, thank you, thank you. I promise to make it worth your while. If you like this, go check out my Substack where most of my written content is. It's a newsletter that gets emailed to you. Thank you, everyone, for supporting independent journalism. Last thing, if you're still here, support the journalism you want to see in the world. Don't assume that journalism will exist if you don't financially support it. Okay. It doesn't have to be me, but support the journalism you want to see in the world. All right, everyone. Take care.